Welcome to my channel. I'm Kira, and today's class is a restorative backbending class. So we'll be thinking about the spine in three different segments: our lumbar spine, our thoracic spine, and our cervical spine. All right, so really thinking about finding mobility in all three parts without relying on any particular part. And for this particular class, it will be a little bit different from our classes that include stimming, but we'll include some stimulation throughout, but we'll have longer pauses of silence to really help you expand your capacity for an idle body and mind. So keep in mind that wherever we are in the practice, that the practice is yours, and if you have a moment where you want to increase some movement, some stimulation, feel free to do so. There's many ways to stimulate yourself in a practice outside of what the teacher is cueing. So feel free to use your fingers, move your neck, tap your toes, whatever it takes to kind of keep you settled and staying away from sort of the rabbit hole of the busy mind. All right, so today's practice, the props that we'll use are a blanket and a bolster, and we'll get started on the floor. So take your blanket, and if you're at home without a studio style bolster, you could use this blanket in multiple ways today. But we'll take our blanket and we'll create this particular shape, sort of a rectangular shape. All right, so whatever you have, a towel, a throw from your couch, get it into this shape, and then we'll fold this into thirds. So think of sort of a trifold, even folds across, all right? And then we'll take the blanket and roll this down anywhere toward 50%, right? So if you find that a deep back bend starting off cold in a practice might be too much, feel free to lower the size of the roll. So just sort of reduce it, unroll it a bit. All right, and where we place this will be right sort of middle of the mat. And I want you to think about the segments of your spine. So again, we've got our lumbar spine, our thoracic spine, and our cervical spine. All right, and think about in your body, where do you hold tension, need to sort of increase awareness for more sort of efficiency and movement in practice, and come down to the blanket there. So I'm going to go right at this sort of junction in between the lumbar spine and the thoracic spine, right? So low back and middle back. And I'll come down, just drape my body, finding sort of that sweet spot, that center of gravity right where I want to increase awareness. All right, we'll keep the knees bent for this, keep it a bit softer. All right, and allow, wherever you are, your shoulders to roll back. All right, if you have the blanket behind your neck, keep the neck really long, but again, allowing the shoulders to melt toward the earth. Coming to the breath, noticing where your awareness of breath is starting at for today. Is it feeling shallow? Have you felt that you've been in a mindful breath throughout the day? And starting to allow it to become more expansive. Traveling through the system more fully. You might soften your low belly and begin to use the breath as a source of movement here. So inhale to fill the belly and exhale to heavy the top rim of your pelvis down toward the earth. So think of your low back as melting toward the earth. On the exhale, melting into the mat. Keep breathing in a way that brings you closer to a sense of ease with each exhale. Breathing out the tension. So at our start of class, one way we can build awareness is to bring the mind's eye, all right? So your attention to this connection point in your back body. Really inhabit that space as if it is the only space in your body in the moment. And if your mind starts to drift away, just feel compelled to move toward expanding awareness of your back body. Nothing to do. Just to notice. Redirecting the attention to this connection point and taking 5 more breaths here, just solidifying your awareness, just creating a sense of memory of this connection so that as we start to move through our other poses, we can continue to create clearer commands from mind to body. Okay, so from here, a nice safe way to come out of a deeper back bend is to walk the heels closer to your sits bones, your glutes, and then lift your hips. Just reduce that curve by coming into the lowest bridge you've ever been in, all right? And then slowly turning to the side, catch yourself with your forearm and press yourself up. All right, and from here, we're gonna move the blanket off to the side and return to the back body. All right, and from here, extend the legs down the mat and then press yourself on up to your elbows and forearms. Legs or hips width distance apart. We'll kick the heels, find some length in the back of the legs, drive the back of the knees into the mat, and we're gonna start to create a back bend here, a more active back bend, right? This is a less restorative pose, but helping us to just find where we're starting from, where our edge might be today, creating a curve starting at that lumbar spine, the low back. Every vertebra, every bone of that spine lifting up toward the sky, moving through the middle back. Continuing into the upper back, continue to press your forearms and palms into the floor. Keep your neck long. All right, and take a few breaths here. Just notice where in your spine you might be finding less awareness, less of this extension, and really inhabit that particular part in your mind. Let's see if you can bring more energy there. Your neck feels heavy, you can keep your chin tucked. Try to keep the upper back in the bend. 2 more breaths. All right, tuck the chin, roll through the spine, and come on down to the back body. From here, we'll rebend the knees. Take a moment to find a sense of posture, all right? Aligning your ribs and your pelvis, keeping the back of your head really at that roundest part so that if your gaze is toward the sky, you can imagine your head being nicely stacked over your shoulders. All right, so keeping this upper body alignment as much as we can for our twist. All right, so we're starting from neutral. So we'll bring our legs to a 90-degree angle and allow the knees to fall to the right side of the mat. Allow your upper back to really melt toward the earth here, keeping some sense of neutral in the upper spine. All right, and then we'll start to bring the right hand down toward the right knee. You could even grasp it if that helps you create a bit of traction here. The left arm is going to swim above your head. And then we'll start to dip the right shoulder, lift the left shoulder, and come into what is a bit of a side bend on the left. All right, so feeling a sense of the left side rib reaching away from the hip, getting long in the armpit, and then allow your gaze to move over toward your left shoulder. Your left elbow. Really breathe here into the back body. Feeling a sense of expansion in that space between the rib and the hip. Checking in on where your attention has drifted toward. You might find yourself in these quiet moments with your thoughts moving toward, where we have been earlier in the day, where we're headed later, conversations, feelings. All of this is part of the human experience and not things we can easily shut off or need to shut off all the time. But making that choice of where to hold your attention here, maybe something simpler like our body sense, our breath, and just being in consciousness. I'm going to take 5 more breaths on this side. And we'll come out of this the way that we got into it, is to square the shoulders and bring the knees back to center. And just spend a moment here with your feet flat on the earth and feel your posture, your alignment of ribs and hips and back of head. Keep the shoulders driving down gently. Take another breath here. Feeling that return back to stasis, back to balance and neutral. All right, bringing the legs back to your 90-degree angle. Then this time moving the knees off to the left side of the mat, stacking your hips. Take a moment to settle here, really soften that oblique, that space between rib and hip. Your abdomen spanning across the front body. Allow that right shoulder to melt down. Notice if you have a floaty right shoulder, and if that's the case, maybe you press the top of your head, the back of your head into the mat, lift your upper back, and just sort of scoot to the left.
allowing that right shoulder to drop down. Alternatively, you could bring a block between the knees or under the left knee, right? So that's also an option to soften things so that you can truly relax the muscle tissue. Once you've settled, you'll start to bring the left hand down the mat, maybe grasping your knee. Swim the right arm up the mat, bending to the left. All right, feeling that space between rib and hip, armpit and upper arm through your fingertips. Using the breath as movement. Speaking of breath as movement, on those days where we have a greater capacity for holding our attention in one place for a longer span of time, maybe the breath as movement is sometimes interesting, right? As we inhale and we feel where exactly the attention lands. Maybe it's somewhere we feel a tug or a pull. Tightness is where we might be able to explore and find something new and interesting, something to decide to tend to in the moment or to tend to later. All right, but expanding our capacity for what is simple and true, and what is true is in our bodies. It's noticing our physiological experience and how our truth is landing in our bodies at any moment in time. And these last 5 breaths, breathing into that area where you feel the most response. Likely more so on that right side, where the low back and the hip meets. Maybe moving through the ribs. Exploring what is interesting. All right, coming on back through center by squaring the hips, bring the knees back to center, bring the feet flat, and just take a moment, again, back in your posture. This time, a shallow back bend in a bridge pose, so bringing the heels close to the sits bones, pressing the floor away to lift the hips. I always like to give my heels a little bit more, bring them back a little bit more to create a little bit more of a lift away from the floor. Squeeze the glutes, lift the hips up toward the sky. All right, and again, feeling that back bend move from the lower back, through the middle back, through the upper back. Allow the top of the shoulders to really be the anchor point here. Take another exhale to lift the hips. And an inhale to lower down. Bring the knees to chest and feel a sense of length in the back body as you rock side to side. Lengthen the low back, lengthen the glutes. 2 more breaths. And rolling off to the side and into a tabletop. So we're going to come into a supported embryo. So we're going to take our bolster and place that vertically in the middle of the mat.
All right, and if you're a tall person, have most of your trunk connected to the bolster. Again, you can create more of a bolster effect with the blanket if you don't have a studio style bolster. We're gonna lie the chest down. Our legs are in a child's pose position, so the big toes are touching, the knees are splayed apart. All right, and rather than keeping the arms up toward the top of the mat, we're gonna bring them down toward the bottom of the mat and allow the shoulders to roll forward. All right, so the bolster adding some support, so really allow your weight to move into it. Don't worry so much about the depth of your child's pose, but really soften here, surrender to gravity. And you might think of your back body like the shape of a star, right? So imagine that you have a star drawn onto your back, and as you inhale, each point of that star moves in its respective directions, right? So spreading the tissues of the back body on the inhale. And as you exhale, the points of the star moving back to their neutral starting point. Check in on your shoulders. Notice if they start to creep up, lower them back down. Use your exhale to remind you to be heavy and passive here. Your breath being the only movement. Nothing else contracting. Spreading the spine, spreading the shoulder blades away from the spine. Notice your attention. If you're starting to feel that irritability of time and just sort of that restlessness that wants to pull you away from your body sense and your practice, always opting for stimulation if you need it. You could use your fingers by bringing them in toward the palm one by one. I'm going to take 10 more breaths here. All right, using the exhale to start to push the floor away and come on up to a seat and spending a moment to honor your practice in a way that's authentic to you. Thanks for being here, and if you'd like more, please subscribe to my channel. I'll be offering more classes like this one. Restorative practices with more space, more energetic practices with more stimulation, but hope to see you again. Thanks.